I never thought I'd be the guy who gets cheated on. You always hear about it, read about it, and think, that'll never be me. But here I am, sitting in my car, staring blankly at the building where my wife, Jenna, told me she'd be working late. I had gotten suspicious lately. Little things here and there, like how she'd come home late, reek of cheap perfume, and snap at me over trivial issues. I convinced myself it was just stress from work. After all, she's been putting in long hours at the office for months now. But then, she started using her phone more often, texting late at night under the covers, and pulling away from me in ways that were hard to ignore. I tried to brush it off as paranoia, but my gut told me something was off. I decided to take matters into my own hands. So on that fateful Friday evening, I drove to her office, a nondescript building in the downtown area, armed with a plan and a heavy heart. As I pulled up, my heart raced. I could see the lights in her office flickering like they were hiding a dark secret. I parked a couple of blocks away and walked toward the entrance. I couldn't believe I was doing this. I felt like a character in one of those cheesy detective movies, but something compelled me to find the truth. I approached the glass door, peering through the window. The office looked deserted, save for the glow of one desk lamp. I checked my watch. It was nearly 8 p.m. Jenna had said she'd be there until at least 10. I fumbled with my phone, taking a few deep breaths to calm my nerves. I needed to collect evidence. If this turned out to be nothing, I'd eat my words, but I had to know. I circled the building, looking for another entrance. That's when I saw a figure in the parking lot, Jenna, but she wasn't alone. A tall, dark-haired guy leaned against her car, and they were laughing, their bodies way too close for my comfort. I felt sick. My heart dropped as I pulled out my phone and hit record. I couldn't hear their conversation, but the sight was enough. Jenna's hand touched his arm, and I could see her head tilt back in laughter, a sound that used to make my heart flutter but now made me feel like I was suffocating. I watched as they exchanged lingering glances, her face radiant in a way that it hadn't been with me in months. I wanted to scream, to break through the glass and confront them both, but I needed to keep my cool. I had to gather my thoughts and evidence before making any rash decisions. After a few minutes that felt like hours, I saw them lean in closer. I thought I was going to be sick. I quickly stepped back, shaking with rage and confusion. My mind whirled with a mix of disbelief and an overwhelming urge for revenge. It was clear that Jenna had lied to me about working late. I couldn't let this slide. Not only had she betrayed our marriage, but she was doing it right under my nose. I finally stopped recording and made my way back to my car. I felt numb, the reality of the situation crashing down on me in waves. I had to confront her, but first, I needed to gather myself. I sat in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel as if it were the only thing grounding me in that moment. The betrayal burned in my chest, igniting a fire that I didn't know how to control. What would I say? How would she react? I was torn between wanting to confront her immediately and needing to plan my next steps carefully. One thing was clear. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I had the video, and I could show her mother. Jenna had always valued her family's opinions. This would hit home in the most devastating way. As I drove home, my mind raced with thoughts of how this would all play out. I couldn't shake the image of Jenna laughing with that guy from my mind, and the more I thought about it, the angrier I became. Nothing would be the same after tonight. I had to find a way to make her understand the weight of her actions. I pulled into the garage, my heart still pounding. I knew that the confrontation would come soon, and I needed to be ready for the storm that was about to hit. I took a deep breath and steeled myself for what was to come. It was time to confront the woman I thought I knew. The house was eerily quiet when I walked in. The faint glow of the living room lamp illuminated the familiar space, yet everything felt foreign, tainted by the betrayal I had just witnessed. I could still hear the echoes of Jenna's laughter ringing in my ears, a chilling reminder of the intimacy she was sharing with another man. I wanted to scream, but I forced myself to breathe deeply. As I entered the kitchen, memories flooded my mind. Our wedding day, our first home together, the late-night talks over takeout. I felt a pang of sadness for the love I thought we had, but I quickly reminded myself that her actions had shattered that illusion. I glanced at the clock. It was nearly 9 p.m. I had at least an hour before I expected her home. I needed a plan. The video I had filmed was my ace up my sleeve, but I also wanted to confront her in a way that would make her realize the gravity of her betrayal. I took out my phone and watched the footage again, my heart racing as I saw her flirt with that man. I felt a mix of anger and disgust. She had lied to me so easily, and I was determined to shatter her facade. As I paced the kitchen, I thought about how best to confront her. Should I lead with the video? Should I just lay it all out there and let her deny it first? I couldn't decide if I wanted to see her squirm or catch her off guard. Either way, the truth was going to come out. When Jenna finally walked in around 10 p.m., I was waiting in the living room, arms crossed, the video paused and ready on my phone. She stepped through the door, her face lighting up with a smile that quickly faded when she saw my expression. "Hey babe, you're still up?" she asked, trying to maintain her usual cheerfulness, but I could see the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. "Yeah, I couldn't sleep," I replied, my voice steady but laced with tension. "We need to talk." Her smile faltered and a nervous laugh escaped her lips. "About what? Is everything okay?" I took a deep breath, fighting the urge to unleash my anger all at once. "Everything is not okay. Jenna, I know about the late nights. I know what you've been doing." The color drained from her face as she shifted her weight from one foot to the other. "What do you mean? I've been working hard, you know that. It's just a busy season at the office." I held up my phone, my thumb hovering over the video. "I saw you tonight with some guy in the parking lot. You think I wouldn't find out?" Her eyes widened, and for a moment she looked genuinely shocked. You saw me. It's not what you think. I can explain." "Explain what, Jenna? How you lied to me about working late while you were out there flirting and laughing with him?" I shot back, unable to hold back the bitterness that dripped from my words. She opened her mouth and closed it several times, scrambling for words. "It was just harmless fun. I didn't mean for it to happen. We were just talking." "Talking?" I scoffed, disbelief washing over me. "You don't touch people you're just talking to. You don't laugh like that with someone who isn't your husband." Her expression shifted from shock to irritation. "You're acting like this is the end of the world. You don't understand. I've been feeling so overwhelmed, and Ryan, I interrupted, the name slicing through me like a knife. "So this isn't just some random guy. You've been seeing him, haven't you?" She pressed her lips together, her eyes darting around as if searching for an escape from the reality she had created. "It's not what you think. He's just a coworker. I promise it meant nothing." "Nothing, huh?" I challenged, voice rising with each word. "Then why were you so close? Why were you laughing? That looks like something to me, Jenna. It looks like a lot more than you're willing to admit." "I wasn't trying to hurt you," she shouted, frustration boiling over. "You've been so distant lately. I felt like I was alone. I just needed someone to talk to." I shook my head, the betrayal swirling inside me like a storm. "That's no excuse for cheating. You could have come to me, but you chose to lie." Her defenses crumbled as she sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. "I'm sorry, I messed up. I didn't think you'd find out." "Of course you didn't," I replied bitterly. "Because that's how cheaters think. They hide in the darkness, hoping their lies won't catch up with them." Jenna looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. "Please don't do this. I love you. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I swear I'll end it with Ryan." "Love?" I scoffed again. "What does love mean when you're out there betraying everything we built together?" I settled my gaze on her, searching for any shred of remorse. But all I saw was fear and desperation. Could she really understand the pain she had caused? I felt my heart harden with the realization that this was no longer the woman I had married. She was a stranger, someone who had chosen betrayal over honesty. As I sat there, I knew I had a decision to make. Would I allow myself to be dragged back into the web of lies and excuses, or would I finally take control of my life? I needed to think about my next steps carefully. There was no going back to how things were. The trust was shattered, and it was time to decide what I truly wanted moving forward. Jenna's tears fell like rain, soaking into the fabric of the couch, and I felt a strange mix of anger and pity as I watched her crumble before me. It was hard to reconcile the woman I had loved with the person who sat there, sobbing and pleading for forgiveness. Part of me wanted to reach out, to comfort her, to tell her that everything could be fixed. But the other part, the part that had just seen her with another man, screamed to protect myself from further hurt. "Jenna," I began, my voice steady but laced with uncertainty, "I don't know what to say right now. You've shattered my trust beyond repair. Saying you're sorry isn't enough. I know I messed up," she pleaded, her voice trembling. "But please try to understand. I felt so alone. The late nights, the pressure at work, it's been suffocating. I didn't mean for it to go this far." "Then why not talk to me?" I countered, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "Why didn't you come to me and say, 'Hey, I need more from you'? Instead, you went behind my back." "I thought it was harmless," she said, but I could see the cracks in her facade. The realization that her actions had consequences was beginning to sink in. "Ryan and I were just friends. I never thought it would lead to this. I hate myself for it." I felt my heart twist in response to her pain, but I couldn't let sympathy cloud my judgment. "Do you even understand what you've done? You've betrayed our marriage, Jenna. This isn't just some silly mistake. This is about trust, commitment, and the promise we made to each other." Her sobs intensified, and she buried her face in her hands again. I know, I'm sorry. Please don't leave me. I'll do anything to fix this." I stood up, packing the living room as I tried to process everything. "You have to understand that I'm not sure if I can just forgive and forget. You went to him, Jenna. You chose him over me in those moments. You chose to lie and deceive me. I didn't choose him. I was confused." She cried, desperation spilling from her words. "I don't know what I was thinking. I just wanted someone to listen, and he was there." "Someone to listen," I echoed, incredulous. "What happened to the vows we took? If you were feeling neglected, you should have come to me. I would have listened, I would have made changes, but you chose betrayal." Her head hung low, shame washing over her. "I was weak. I didn't know how to talk to you. I thought you wouldn't care. I thought I could manage it all on my own." I let out a deep breath, my frustration simmering just beneath the surface. "Do you have any idea how this feels? To know that the woman I love shared a part of herself with someone else, physically, emotionally. You can't just throw around the word love when you've done something so destructive." I know," she sobbed, her voice breaking. "I'm not asking you to forgive me right now. I just want you to know I'm sorry. I'll make it right. I promise." I paused, unsure of where this conversation was heading. I wanted to believe her. Words to think that she was genuinely remorseful, but every fiber of my being told me that her apologies were empty without action behind them. "Tell me about Ryan," I demanded, my voice low and cold. "What exactly was going on between you two? Did you ever think of me while you were with him?" Her eyes widened in panic. "It was nothing, I promise. We never went that far. We just talked about work and life, that's all." "Just talking," I pressed. "But you were flirting, right? You were crossing lines you shouldn't have crossed." "I know I messed up and I'm so sorry," she wailed. "You have to believe me. I never meant for it to hurt you. I'll cut all ties with him. Just please don't walk away from me." I stepped back, needing space to breathe. "You said you felt alone," I mused, trying to gather my thoughts. "But what do you think I felt? I've been here trying to support you, and you've shut me out completely." "I didn't mean to shut you out," she said, desperation clawing at her voice. "I thought I was protecting you from my stress. I thought I was being strong, but I was weak." I let out a frustrated sigh. "You don't just protect someone by shutting them out. You communicate, you talk, you don't betray them. Please, let's work through this together," she pleaded, her voice shaky. "I don't want to lose you. I'll go to counseling. I'll do whatever it takes." Counseling. It felt like a hollow offer at that moment. I wanted to believe she could change, but the scars of betrayal were still fresh. I didn't want to rush into any decisions, especially not when I was still processing everything. "Jenna, I need time to think," I finally said, my voice breaking under the weight of my emotions. "I'm not ready to make any promises or decisions right now. Please don't leave me," she begged again, and I could see the genuine fear in her eyes, but I had to put my heart first for once. The reality of our situation hung heavy in the air. I had to protect myself. "I don't know if I can stay. I don't know if I can look at you the same way again after what you've done." As I turned to step away, I felt the gravity of our marriage shift, the foundation cracking beneath the weight of her infidelity. I was walking into uncharted territory, and I had no idea what the future held. But one thing was clear: nothing would ever be the same again. That night, I barely slept. I tossed and turned, replaying the confrontation over and over in my mind. Jenna's tear-streaked face haunted me, but so did the image of her with Ryan. How effortlessly she had connected with him in those moments I had witnessed. All the love I had poured into our marriage felt like it had evaporated, leaving behind a shell of what we once had. By morning, I was exhausted but resolute. I needed to make some decisions, and sitting around wallowing in sadness wasn't going to help. I grabbed a cup of coffee and sat at the kitchen table, staring into the steaming mug as the sun filtered through the window, illuminating the dust particles floating through the air. It all felt so surreal. When Jenna finally emerged from the bedroom, her eyes were red, and her hair was a mess. She gave me a tentative smile that quickly faded when she saw the expression on my face. "Good morning," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Morning," I replied, pushing the cup away as I prepared for another difficult conversation. "We need to talk about what happens next." She nodded, biting her lip, clearly anxious. "I know I messed up. I promised to do better. Just give me a chance to prove it." "It's not that simple, Jenna," I said, keeping my tone steady. "I need to know if you really understand the depth of what you did. Cheating is more than just a physical act. It's a betrayal of trust, of commitment." "I do understand," she replied, tears welling in her eyes. "I was stupid and I took you for granted. I thought I could handle everything on my own, but I was wrong. I'm so sorry." I sighed, trying to keep my emotions in check. "Sorry doesn't change what happened. You say you want to make it better, but I need to know how you plan to do that." "I'll end things with Ryan. I'll block him on everything. I'll go to therapy and I'll do whatever it takes to rebuild your trust," she said, her voice rising with urgency. "Please, I don't want to lose you." "Rebuilding trust takes time," I said, allowing a hint of softness to seep into my voice. "It's not something that can be fixed overnight. You've broken something between us and I don't know if I can just forget it." "Just give me time," she pleaded. "I'll prove to you that I can be the wife you deserve. I can do this." I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms. "I think I need some space to think things through. We can't just rush back into things as if nothing happened." Her face fell and I could see the fear creeping back in. "What do you mean space? Are you saying you want to separate?" "I'm not saying that yet," I clarified, trying to maintain my composure. "But I think it would be best if we took some time apart to figure things out. I need to reflect on whether this marriage is worth saving." "Please don't do this," she begged, her voice breaking. "I love you. I'll change, I promise. Just don't walk away from me." I felt a pang of guilt as I watched her crumble again. It hurt to see her like this, but I had to think about my own well-being. "Jenna, right now I don't know what love means between us anymore. You have to understand that this isn't just a simple argument. You crossed a line that can't be easily undone." She took a step closer, desperation in her gaze. "What can I do to make you stay?" "I'll do anything. I'll change my job, go to therapy, whatever you need." I took a deep breath, trying to quell my racing heart. "This isn't just about action, it's about trust and respect. You need to show me that you're willing to put in the work and make real changes, not just empty promises." "I will," she insisted, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'll show you, just give me a chance." I nodded slowly, my mind racing with conflicting emotions. "Fine, but I need to see genuine effort. And in the meantime, I think it would be best if we spent some time apart. I can't process this while we're living together." "Are you serious?" she asked, shock evident in her voice. "You want to leave?" "Not leave, just take a step back," I replied firmly. "I need to figure out what I want. We both need to think about what this means." She looked crushed, and I could feel the weight of her disappointment pressing down on both of us. "I'll change, I swear," she murmured, but I was already feeling the chasm growing between us, and I feared it might be too wide to bridge. With a heavy heart, I grabbed my things and headed for the door, knowing that this was the hardest decision I had ever made. As I stepped outside, the air felt charged with uncertainty, the weight of my choice hanging heavy on my shoulders. For the next few days, I focused on my own needs. I stayed with a friend, trying to escape the memories that haunted me at home. I felt lost, like a ship adrift without a compass. I missed the familiarity of Jenna's laugh, the small moments we shared, but I also felt relief from the chaos that had consumed my life. During that time, I began to reflect on everything we had been through. I thought about the love that had once filled our home and the cracks that had formed beneath the surface. I realized that while I wanted to believe in second chances, I needed to prioritize my own healing. Jenna reached out frequently, her messages filled with apologies and pleas for reconciliation, but I wasn't ready to respond. I needed to take this time to understand what I truly wanted. Each day felt like a battle between my heart and my head, and I grasped for the thread of clarity that seemed just out of reach. As I sat on my friend's couch, contemplating our future, I knew that the next steps would define not only my journey but Jenna's as well. Could we rebuild what we had lost, or was this the end of our story? My heart yearned for answers, but I understood that time was the only thing that could provide them. The days turned into a week, and with each passing moment, I found myself torn between hope and despair. I had moved in with my friend Mark, who had been supportive and understanding, listening to my rants and frustrations while I grappled with the reality of my situation. He often reminded me to prioritize my mental health, but the emotional toll of the betrayal weighed heavily on me. Jenna continued to reach out. Texts filled with apologies and promises of change flooded my phone. At first, I would read each one, heart racing, but then I found it easier to ignore them. I didn't want to be swayed by her emotional pleas. I needed to think clearly, to find a sense of stability before making a decision that could change the course of my life. One night, as I sat in Mark's living room, the glow of the television casting shadows on the walls, I received a call from Jenna. I hesitated, glancing at the phone in my hand. I didn't want to ignore her, but the thought of hearing her voice sent a wave of anxiety through me. I took a deep breath, reminding myself that I had to face this head-on. "Hello," I finally answered, my voice steady but cautious. "Hey," Jenna replied, her voice shaky. I just wanted to check in on you. I've been thinking a lot about what happened." "I've been thinking too," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "It's been a lot to process." There was a pause on the other end, and I could hear her breathing. "I miss you," she said softly. "I miss us. I've been working on myself, trying to figure out how to make things right. I want to show you that I can change." "Change doesn't happen overnight, Jenna," I reminded her. "It takes time and real effort." "You said you were going to cut ties with Ryan. Have you done that?" "I have," she assured me, her voice strong. "I blocked him on everything. I even told him that I wanted him to stay out of my life. I know I messed up, but I'm committed to making it right." I felt a flicker of hope, but I also felt the weight of doubt. "That's a good first step, but it's not enough. You need to address why you felt the need to seek someone else out in the first place." "I know," she admitted, her voice thick with emotion. "I was feeling overwhelmed and alone. I thought I could handle everything, but I didn't realize how much I needed you until it was too late. I've started going to therapy to understand my own feelings better." "Therapy is a good idea," I said, nodding even though she couldn't see me. "But I need you to understand that I'm not ready to jump back into this relationship. Trust is something that takes time to rebuild." "I understand," she said, her voice breaking. "I'll be patient. I just want a chance to prove that I can be the partner you need." I sighed, the weight of her words heavy. "I want to believe you, but I need to prioritize my own healing. I can't be there for you if I'm still processing everything." "I get it," she said, and I could hear the sincerity in her voice. "Just know that I'm here waiting, and I'll do whatever it takes to show you that I can be better." "Okay," I replied, though uncertainty lingered in my mind. "I'll think about things, but don't expect any answers right away. I need space to figure this out." "Of course. Thank you for talking to me," she said, her voice softening. "I just hope you know how much I love you and how sorry I am." As we said our goodbyes, I felt a wave of mixed emotions wash over me. Part of me wanted to reach out, to comfort her and tell her that everything would be okay, but the other part reminded me that trust, once broken, isn't easily mended. I hung up the phone, leaning back against the couch, feeling emotionally drained. The next few days continued to be a mix of introspection and restlessness. I spent hours talking to Mark, who encouraged me to chase after the clarity I needed. He reminded me that it was okay to prioritize my own feelings and mental health before making any decisions about Jenna. Eventually, I decided it was time to confront my feelings more directly. I took a long walk to clear my head, the autumn air crisp and invigorating. Every step felt like a step away from the pain and confusion, and I began to visualize what my life could look like moving forward, with or without Jenna. I thought about the love we shared, the life we built together, and the moments that had defined our relationship. But I also thought about the hurt and betrayal that had shattered that world. I was torn between the hope of rekindling our love and the reality of the pain she had caused. I needed clarity. That evening, after a long day of reflection, I sat down with my phone, ready to text Jenna. As I wrote my message, I felt a mix of nerves and determination. I needed to set boundaries, but I also wanted to give her the fair chance she had asked for. Hey, Jenna, I've been thinking a lot about everything. I'm willing to give us a chance to rebuild our relationship, but it's going to take time. I need to see consistent effort from you. Trust needs to be rebuilt, and I can't do that alone. I hope you understand. Once I hit send, I felt an unexpected weight lift off my shoulders. It was a small step, but it was a step toward healing for both of us. Later that night, Jenna responded almost immediately, her enthusiasm pouring through the screen. Thank you. I promise I won't let you down. I'll show you that I can be the wife you need. I love you. I smiled, feeling a glimmer of hope, though I reminded myself to stay cautious. This was a journey, and we were only at the beginning. I knew the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but I was ready to embrace the uncertainty. For the first time since everything fell apart, I felt like I was taking control of my life, and that was a powerful feeling. I was determined to navigate this path carefully and make decisions that honored my heart and my future, whatever that might hold. The days turned into weeks, and I found a surprising sense of strength in the decision I had made. Jenna and I began to communicate more openly, setting the foundation for what I hoped would be a healthier relationship. She was putting in the effort, going to therapy, cutting off contact with Ryan, and genuinely engaging in discussions about her feelings. It was a welcome change, but I wasn't ready to fully let my guard down just yet. We agreed to meet up once a week to talk about our progress. The first couple of meetings were painfully awkward. We sat across from each other at a small cafe, nursing coffee while the tension between us hung in the air. But with each conversation, I started to see glimpses of the woman I had fallen in love with, buried beneath the weight of her mistakes. Thank you for giving me another chance, she would often say, and each time I would nod, aware of the effort it took for both of us to be there. We talked about boundaries, about how we could communicate better in times of stress. I shared my feelings of betrayal and hurt, and she listened, acknowledging my pain without becoming defensive. Yet there were moments when doubt crept in, moments when I would remember the betrayal vividly and I could feel my heart clench. One evening, while reflecting in my journal, I wrote, "Can I truly forgive her? Can I trust her again?" These questions loomed large over my mind, and I realized that the healing process would be a marathon, not a sprint. One day, I received a text from Jenna that made my heart race. "I've been thinking, how about we go on a weekend getaway, just the two of us, to reconnect?" I hesitated, my instincts flashing with caution. Would a getaway be a good idea, or was it too soon? I considered it for a moment and decided that maybe it could be a step toward rebuilding. "Okay," I responded, my finger hovering over the send button. "Let's do it, but no expectations. Just a chance for us to relax and enjoy each other's company." We booked a cabin in the woods for the weekend, a place where we could escape the chaos of our lives. As the date approached, I felt nervous excitement bubbling inside me. I wanted it to be a healing experience, a chance for us to rekindle the connection we had lost. But I was also wary. I knew better than to expect everything to be perfect. When we arrived at the cabin, the air was crisp and fresh, and the scenery was breathtaking. Jenna seemed genuinely happy, her smile wide as she took in the beauty around us. We spent the day hiking, enjoying each other's presence without the heaviness of our past hanging over us. I found myself laughing, more, feeling lighter than I had in months. That evening, as we sat by the fireplace, the soft crackle of the wood filling the silence, I felt a warmth that had been absent in my life for so long. Jenna leaned against me, and I could feel her heart racing, mirroring my own. The mood shifted as we began to talk about lighter topics, reminiscing about old memories and things we used to love about each other. But then, as the night wore on, the conversation turned serious. "You know, I still think about that night," Jenna said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "It haunts me. I hate myself for hurting you." I sighed, looking into the flames. "I think about it too. It's hard for me to forget, Jenna. I'm trying to move forward, but I need you to understand how much pain it caused. I do understand, she replied, taking my hand in hers. I'm committed to earning your trust back, even if it takes a lifetime. I just want you to know that I'm here for the long haul. Her sincerity resonated with me. I squeezed her hand tighter, realizing that I wanted to believe in her, but I also knew that I had to protect myself. I appreciate that, but it's going to take time. I'm not sure if I can ever fully erase the memories. Trust is something that has to be rebuilt day by day. I'm okay with that, she replied, her eyes glistening with sincerity. As long as we're moving forward together, I'll be patient. The next morning, we woke up to a picturesque view, sunlight streaming through the trees, birds chirping outside. I took a deep breath, feeling hopeful for the first time in a long while. After breakfast, we headed outside for a hike, the cool air invigorating us as we walked hand in hand. At one point, as we reached a lookout point overlooking the valley, I felt a rush of emotions. I turned to Jenna, who was gazing out at the view, and said, I want you to know that I'm willing to try. I want to believe that we can rebuild this, that we can find our way back to each other. Her eyes lit up, and she turned to me, gratitude washing over her features. Thank you, she whispered. That means everything to me. As we stood there, the sunlight illuminating the landscape, I felt a glimmer of hope. It wouldn't be easy and there would be bumps along the road, but I wanted to believe in us again. I wanted to fight for the love we had built. Later that day, as we headed back to the cabin, I realized that healing would be a journey, one filled with challenges, ups and downs, but also moments of joy and connection. I knew that neither of us was perfect, but if we were committed to growth, to being better partners for each other, there might just be a chance for us after all. In that moment, standing on the cusp of a new beginning, I felt ready to embrace the uncertainty of the future. Whether we stayed together or not, I was determined to learn from this experience. I had learned the importance of communication, the significance of understanding one another's feelings, and the power of resilience. This was the next chapter of our lives, and while the past would always be a part of our story, it didn't have to dictate our future. I was ready to write a new narrative, one filled with hope, possibility, and the chance to reclaim what we had lost.